Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another guide, and this is going to be another review that is going to be focused solely on one player, and this is going to be the Viktor here in Korean Challenger. And we are going to have a look at how exactly he is playing the lane against the Yone, and we are going to go over a basic guide. So this is one of the casts that I call Ashen casts for noobs, and this is going to introduce you to League of Legends in a playful and interesting way. So if you're interested in that, hit subscribe. There is going to be one of my casts every week that is especially designed for people that don't have a lot of experience playing the game, or don't spend 20 hours like me playing the game or thinking about the game. And so, ladies and gentlemen, strap on in as we're going to go over Viktor. So, Viktor passive. Viktor passive basically gives him an item which he is able to upgrade. Those upgrades used to be gold. Now these upgrades happen through him killing minions or enemy champions. 25 for an assist or a kill will absolutely give him amazing value. So if Viktor can help but kill or fight early on, it is huge for him. So as Viktor, you definitely want to stay vigilant. I would say Viktor is one of the more difficult champions, but still a very good option here for the beginner mid lane player, as Viktor is a control mage, and generally I think control mages are always a good option. I think a little bit better option would be the Orianna. And we see him move in here very aggressively. He did not prepare the minions correctly, but he still managed to CS all of them. Usually what you can do to make the CSing in the beginning easier is the first 3 minions you hit. Basically, you hit one of them once, another one 2 times, and then you have a perfectly set up, you know, just 1, 2, 3 to pick up all the minions. Now, one thing that is always very important here is what Viktor is doing, is the wiggling. Now he was caught in a very unfortunate situation here. He was a little bit overextended, and as someone who plays Viktor as well, I kind of saw that unfortunate situation coming in as he was in it as well. As Yone, he can be a little bit scary against someone like Viktor, a control mage that isn't able to move very well. And so Yone going to go in for a beautiful trade here, using a lot of mana. The Viktor that isn't really get a lot of return, so his W, I think, was not the best here at all. And so we see there are some mistakes that are made already here in the lane by the Viktor, but he is still doing fine just on basics, right? He is still picking up his CS, and he has managed to trade the Yone. Now we're going to talk about his runes in a second, but I want to go over his abilities first. So he has a Death Ray, that is his E, or his third ability, his strongest basic ability, and something that you want to practice in the practice tool. If you are into playing him, go into the practice tool and try to hit the Death Ray basically maximum range, right? And you try to do it in a fadeaway style where you walk away from the enemy and you hit it, and then you try to walk around and hit it. And once you have that done, that is when you can play Viktor. Now I say that because Viktor, he's a very different champion if you can do that or if you can't. Why exactly is that? Is because it basically doubles his range. And that is what makes him so ridiculously strong at applying something like the Ahri here, for example, in the laning phase, right? We're going to pop down the W, limiting Yone on what he can do. Very short trade, but at a cost of mana. So for Yone, the way to win this lane here is definitely going to be attack onto the Viktor's mana. As Yone, as a melee champion who is also running the Doran's shield. Doran's shield will give him some blocked damage from auto attacks and abilities, which is obviously great. And it is also going to give him a little bit of passive regeneration if he has been hit recently, which happens every now and then. Going to pop over the wall, pick up the 2 minions, going to jump back down. Overexposing himself a little bit to the enemy jungler here, but that's fine. He knew where the enemy jungler was from pushing in the wave. And Viktor will have to recall here. So Viktor recalling and is going to have to teleport into the lane as a Viktor, or generally as a control mage. Teleporting is always something that you want to keep in mind and in consideration. Now, I think in the lower elos, I think it is better for your habits to run Ignite. So you try to go for kills, because on something like the Viktor, you can definitely edge out kills versus lesser adept players, right? But in the higher elos, teleport is just incredibly valuable and incredibly sweet to have, as Viktor is going to opt in for a little bit of a roam. The roaming Viktor magic didn't really amount to anything, and so Viktor is just going to walk back into the mid lane. We saw him use his wards here pretty actively, something that we want to keep in mind, as Viktor is, as you are quite immobile, it becomes more and more important for you to be able to have vision of the enemy team moving around your mid lane, as sitting in the mid lane, obviously, you have a lot of control, incredible amounts of control, but also a lot of threat coming into you, as the enemy jungler is going to clear his control ward recently placed, 75 gold down the drain. I think 50 gold value given over to her as well, so basically 130, which makes it even worse. Viktor going to be able to pick up all of the minions here. Beautiful CSing, and Yone and Viktor are even. I think optimally Yone should be a little bit behind here, but this Viktor has been spending a lot of mana, and he just spends mana like he has a lot of it, but he doesn't. He's going to push in the wave here and going to recall, hopefully. No, he does not recall. Okay, so staying on low mana, this really opens up a window of opportunity here for the Yone, as Yone is going to trade in and going to trade way too much HP and makes a huge blunder here, trying to fight the 2-0 Graves, goes down to the Viktor, and now Viktor's mistake has been paid for in blood by Yone. Unfortunate situation, but Viktor is going to recall. So what exactly happened there? Let's talk about this. So Viktor, he was just pushing his lane, he was just minding his own business, right? And then his jungler walks into the wave, and a lot of the time what mid laners do, if they are safe, is they try to kind of deal a little bit of damage to the junglers, and I think that is always a bad habit to have. I want to also point out that this Viktor is quite strong now, just because he has the aftershock on his ability. If you remember that his passive was this hex core that can be upgraded, acquiring these stacks, right? They stack to 100. 25 stacks are required on kill or assist, I think, or maybe assist is less. I'm not 100% sure. However, I'm a Viktor main, by the way, and I don't know this, but basically your hex core allows you to upgrade all of your 3 basic abilities, and once you do that, it upgrades your ultimate as well. Viktor's ultimate, not the craziest, like most useful ability. However, it is an ability that can stop any channel. Now, a channeled ability is something like a teleport, like a recall, but also a Malzahar ult. Now, Malzahar ult is this big purple ray that holds you down in place. And that purple ray can basically, it can be a huge threat, right? And it is basically the identity of Malzahar, is being able to hold you down in a team fight for what feels like 5 minutes and just making you not be able to move. Doesn't do insane amounts of damage, but obviously just holding you down, keeping you down is quite valuable in a 1v1 as well as a, you know, even odded team fight. Was a beautiful word, as this Viktor is playing a very, very roamy style here. Actually, I like it. Something that we don't see a lot out of Viktor players, at least myself. I'm a Viktor that stays in the mid lane and almost never moves. Is that good? No, but you know, that's why I'm diamond and not challenger. All right, so as you saw, this is the death ray, right? This is the third ability that I was talking about. It is going to be bound to your E hotkey by default. And Viktor's identity revolves around that ability. It is the most skillful and most difficult ability to use. It is the most powerful ability, arguably. Now, the other very powerful ability is his Q spell. It is his first ability, and that ability does beautiful amounts of damage later on. What it does is it sends out a targeted projectile to an enemy, which deals approximately auto attack damage, and then enchants your next auto attack to be, well, higher in damage. But it isn't only higher in damage, it is faster, and it is a laser. Now, laser projectiles have a special ability in this game, and they can not be blocked by Yasuo's Wind Wall. I believe they can also not be blocked by Samira's W. So 2 abilities that shroud the wearer in a protective barrier, or build a protective barrier somewhere in front of the wearer, and are able to block a lot of spells that are projectiles. Not the Q. Is that great? It'll come in handy in trading, but it's nothing huge, okay? It's just something that I wanted to consider, you know, a little bit of knowledge, because it definitely can help you win some random trades against Yasuo players who are not expecting that yet. All right, Viktor going to recall here, hopefully, as Yone can't really do anything to cancel him, but he can shove in the wave quickly. And yeah, I was about to say it. Yone is way too low here for Viktor to recall. Viktor places a W. And this, yeah, I was about to say this W is not optimally placed, as we're going to flash and still go down. Graves is going to go down as well here, probably. The way I see it, yeah. Beautiful flash by Graves, but it's not going to hold down the Diana, and she's going to pick up a kill onto the Graves. So let's talk about Viktor again. So Viktor's W ability, you saw that is the field, and it starts to stun people if they are in that field for a little bit too long. And once upgraded, it gives all your basic abilities slow. So your E has a micro slow if it hits an enemy, for example. But your W, how do I put this? Your W is a very, very dangerous ability, as again, we have a poorly placed W here again by the Viktor, allowing Yone to, well, do exactly this, right? And this, as Viktor versus some champions like this Yone, the W is going to be your most important spell. Usually, it isn't the most important spell until you hit the late game team fights or the mid game team fights. In laning phase, the W really isn't that great. It's usually your E that does most of the work, but for this Viktor, fighting against a Yone, fighting against a Fizz and Echo, your W has to be placed in a way that it can also, it doesn't only limit the enemy approaching you, but it also limits them staying on top of you. So a lot of the time, kiting or walking into your W is a better choice against something like the Yone who's going to chase you down. So very important to use that. Now Viktor, generally, he is a control mage, and like many control mages, he isn't very strong in the early... Well, he is strong in the laning phase, but he isn't very strong in skirmishes. And right now, he is going to be moving down into the bottom lane. And something that is very, very important is once the first bot lane turret falls, usually the bot laners move into the middle lane, and the mid laners move into the bottom lane. Viktor now has an upgraded teleport, which allows him to join the fights. However, he just used the teleport, so he definitely doesn't have it at his disposal, but it is just 14-minute mark where the plates on the turrets drop. Those are these little armored chunks on the outer turrets that give you extra gold if you pop them, and give the turret extra defenses. Now Viktor is going to recall back to base. Very scary place to be in is the side lane, so you definitely have to treat that with respect. Viktor moving into the middle lane, I feel a little bit bad for the Twitch because he doesn't really have anywhere to go. He can't really go bot lane because the Jace can just pop him in one go. As we're going to pick up some farm here and walk into, yep, beautifully placed W here, going to hold down the Yone no matter what happens. Everfrost wasn't optimally used, but this is fine. And Viktor is redeeming himself a little bit with the W placement here. That was much better. Predicting that Yone would have to recall to his Phantom that he leaves behind. And I would really like to see Viktor going back into the bottom lane, giving Twitch that much needed safety from being in the middle of the map. Twitch is incredibly strong in the middle of the map, as well as he can go invisible and basically appear anywhere. Whereas if he is bottom lane, it is much more predictable where he is. He won't just show up in the top lane, and the chance of him running through a ward much higher. Dragonu being picked up here by the enemy Diana, and Diana is quite scary. Now as Viktor, you're really good at applying Oblivion Orbs, anti-healing. Anti-healing works great against champions like the Yone. But we really want to get a Shadow Fire as quickly as possible. Shadow Fire, it is a little bit of a complicated item to explain, but it deals increased damage, gives you magic penetration. And that magic penetration is good even if the enemy doesn't have an item that gives magic resistance. Most enemies will receive passive magic resistance. This Jace, he also from one of his abilities receives a little bit of magic resistance whenever he is in hammer form, so even more useful. And you want to get that. It is a little bit difficult to explain, but basically it's not a huge amount of magic resistance, but it is the amount of magic resistance that is strong versus enemies that have little magic resistance. As we're going to pop down our ultimate, Jace's hammer will get Viktor out of kill range here, and Viktor was sure he would be able to pick up that kill, used his W and his ultimate there. Didn't really get a lot, and now the ultimate has a long cooldown, so a little bit of an issue as Viktor, as we're going to use our W here. So one thing that is very important on Viktor and his Ws is that if you don't have your W, that sends a signal to someone like Diana that you are pretty easy prey, because you don't have a lot then. Alright, we're going to pick up the jungle camps. It was a little skirmishing a little bit with the Lulu, as Viktor is going to pick up some of the minions and hit the Yone. So if we manage to pick up a kill onto the Yone here, the bottom lane that is, he is going to get an assist. And there it is, ting, it goes, and he gets a little bit of assist gold as he is in the base. And he is going to regenerate his mana again and work himself into the Shadow Flame here. So Shadow Flame has another component where if an enemy has been affected by a shield lately, it will give him extra magic penetration. And this will work against Yone, this will work against Diana, this will work against the Kog'Maw, which is the AD carry, and it will work against the Jace. So absolutely huge value on the Shadow Flame here. Definitely something we don't want to miss in our build, as Viktor is going to be teleporting in. A little bit of a defensive teleport here, but we are going to be able to save. Yeah, we're going to be able to save the top laner here and pick up a kill onto the fed jungler. This is huge amount of gold going over to the Viktor, who is now 5-2. Very good CS lead here over the Yone as well. And this is very important, guys. If you are starting out in the mid lane, one of the most important things is that you stay around minions and try to pick up gold wherever you can. Now here, yeah, we are a little bit overextended, so we really want to just one-shot that wave. And you see how incredibly strong Viktor's third ability, or E, is. Just being able to almost one-shot an entire minion wave. Level 7 onwards, you are able to one-shot the backline minions most of the time, unless you're very far behind. And that gives you just incredible lane dominance when it comes to the push potential. Also pretty cheap way of pushing the lane, so you can compete with most of other control mages as well. As we're going to, people call this dirty farming, as we're probably going to try to pick up some camp here. No, actually doesn't touch the camp. What you saw him do there though is he bounced his Q. He bounced his Q off the minion. Now that empowered his next auto attack and it gave him a little bit of movement speed. That is the effect of his Q ability whenever the Hex Core is upgraded and he chooses to upgrade the Q ability. It will give him a bigger shield, some more movement speed. As Diana is going to go down together with the Yone. That is almost an ace here for the red team. Jace set up in the top lane, but I think we are just going to, yes, we're just going to take the Baron. Don't really care about Jace. He can do whatever he wants to. I think that Sion could just recall here and pick up the wave, because Sion definitely wants to have a good amount of CS, right? Because it gives him maximum health, but it's fine. We're going to be able to pick up this Baron. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jace would try to snipe it here at least, but he doesn't even do that. As a 800 HP smite comes out of the graves. Decent smite. And we are going to be able to pick up a wave here. You saw not the most beautiful of E's there. Hitting good E's onto a minion wave is something that you need to practice as Viktor, as well, as it can quickly give you a lot of control over the wave. Another dragon picked up here for the blue team. 2-1 dragons. So dragons definitely not the win condition here, as a Baron obviously has been picked up, which will hopefully allow our red team to siege down some more turrets. As Viktor in this fight is going to be incredibly strong. Yeah, Viktor in team fights is really another beast, able to shut down enemy teams. And yeah, you saw the maximum value of the Shadow Fire come out here. Sion a little bit too aggressive, and I think that was a mistake by Viktor actually, to try and chase the Diana instead of going with his Sion. But he is going to pick up kills on almost everyone, has to wait for his cooldowns, and picks up a kill onto the Yone as well. And everyone goes down to this 11-2 Viktor, who now, he doesn't have stopwatch, but he has a Zhonya coming in, and he's probably pretty close with the items to that. And so now Viktor is just incredibly strong, because the second you get Zhonyas, basically what if people jump on you, what you can do is you press your W, you press your ultimate, and you just Zhonyas, and the enemy team, the people that jumped on you, they will lose a good third of their HP, and you be invincible, right? And then afterwards you can a lot of the time even burst them down. Yeah, Zhonya being picked up here, and a Void Crystal. Now this is absolutely huge, because that is the big ticket item. The Void Staff is the big ticket item when it comes to magic penetration. It gives you 40% magic shield penetration. Not magic shield, but magic resistance penetration. So against anyone who puts a lot of their magic resist in their build, it will give the most value, but also versus people that have low magic resistance, it will also give a good amount of value. And Yone, you should not be doing this. Again, not the best W here. Yeah, Viktor can definitely work on his W placement when fighting Yone. We're going to pick up a wave here again, and pick up probably another turret, using the Baron buff kind of efficiently here. I think the red team has the potential to pick up a turret in the middle lane as well, as Graves is not interested in that. Actually, Graves is just going to take the camp that is right next to it, kind of shielding. And oh, we have a little bit of a contest here, but the Jace, is he going to be able to do anything against this guy? He is actually able to, but now, yeah, the Viktor goes down to the Diana. He could have been able to pick up the Jace there last second, but this beautifully played by Jace outspaced him. Jace going to take down another one, and that is a pretty big gold swing towards the blue team again. These shutdowns are really something that you have to keep in mind if you are fed, if you are very strong. If you die against an enemy, that can often mean that the enemy now will just be ahead and you will be behind, so definitely something you want to keep in mind. Twitch is able to survive. And so the blue team's bot lane is really the one that is making really big mistakes here. The Jace was playing okay. Yone also not playing very optimally though. And this Viktor is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with in any team fight. Now, there still is a ways to go until the dragon. 1 minute until dragon, 1:30 until baron. So we're just going to kind of play the setup game here, which means that people try to position wards and try to acquire vision around these objectives and try to push out waves so they can have more control over the area, as we have a little bit of a team fight going on in the middle of the map here. Viktor elects not to teleport, and that seems like it wasn't a mistake. We're going to push out this wave. Pushing out a wave is usually very, very valuable, but obviously if your team dies in the process, then it was all for nothing. As Viktor is going to stay in the bushes here, as we have a little bit of a visual bug here going on. This Viktor is definitely invisible inside of that bush there. It's just, I don't know. There are some bugs with the observer tool that I just can't help but wonder how exactly that happened. As a void stuff is picked up here by the Viktor, making him absolutely huge. Now, the void stuff is especially good versus one enemy on the team, and that is Yone. Yone has an item that will give him 40 magic resist. In addition to the magic resist that a melee champion acquires anyway. Oh, yeah, this is a huge team fight W here for the Viktor. One of the best pairs. Yeah, one of the best pairs for team fighting here is Viktor and Sign. Absolutely decimate the enemy team. Run them down with the ultimate. And beautifully done here. And by the Scion, picks up that engage as the dragon was picked up, and Viktor is going to be teleporting into the bottom lane saying, you guys can pick up the Baron without me, you don't need me. Entire enemy team is dead, well, except Yone, who I don't even know. Is Yone even in the game? Like, honestly? Mr. Yone, you are level 14. Alright, still probably, yep, probably has to get the flesh out. As Scion teleported in here. How cute. This Scion is definitely good friends with the Viktor, one way or another. Viktor definitely likes him though. Alright, as the enemy team is going to respawn in, what did it net us? We used teleport and flash, basically 2 teleports, just to pick up 2 turrets that we would have probably gotten with Baron anyway. Honestly, not optimally played here, as we'll see whether or not Viktor elects to, keep on the pressure as the enemy team is engaging onto the graves here. Viktor, he decides against it and cancels his recall 3 times. Why you... What? Okay. So, obviously, what is happening here is peculiar seeming, right? You're like, wait, what the hell is this guy doing? Is he trolling? But one thing that you obviously have to keep in mind, as the enemy team doesn't really have a lot of control over the map, but they still have control over their jungler. If you look at the vision that is acquired here, it is not very aggressive vision. So what Viktor is trying to do here is he is going to try to, pick up a kill onto someone, like for example the Jace, as Jace is going to flash out, and it is very close, but he picks up the kill. This creates quite the advantage here for the red team again, as Jace is going to go down, opening the team a theoretical chink in the armor and the defense. He also picks up Morellonomicon, and his Everfrost and his Sonya are back, so he is in team fight position here. He definitely wants to team fight as he runs down the middle of the map. Doesn't consider holding the turret against Yone, just because he thinks that he can take them all down and take down the 2 middle turrets in question, as a beautiful Lulu ult will protect the Diana here from being pulled in. And now that Yone has recalled, the question remains is how do we break this goddamn base? I think that Sion ulting into the team fight there was a mistake. I think he should have just tried to push the turret and deal some damage, but I might be mistaken because I think I'm not 100% sure if he had a wave there. Obviously turrets, they gain extra damage resistance whenever there is not an enemy minion nearby. Prevents certain strategies that are very fun and interactive to deal with. Trust me, I've had to. Lulu ult is still down, so we are going to be most definitely threatening here the turret. Again, a really poor W here coming out by the Viktor. Now it probably doesn't really matter, but still something to be considered, as Sion is going to charge down the middle of the map, and he's not going for a bow special, unfortunately. So now we don't have the Sion ultimate for the next team fight. Not the hugest of losses, but still a little bit of a loss, as we're going to pop another item. The whole team losing movement speed as well for the next team fight, and Yone is pushing in another wave. Yone himself is now level 17. Match that to the level 18 of the Viktor, but I'm 100% sure now that Yone was AFK. So yeah, even more impressive that Yone has been able to pick up 283 CS, putting him at a very comfortable top position here when it comes to the CS, not necessarily the gold acquired, but the CS gold acquired. And so he definitely has his Infinity Edge ready now, and this Yone is super scary now. 3 item power spike Yone is basically like an AD carry on steroids. Alright, we're going to move into the backline here of the fight. Just take down the Lulu, take down the Jace, and he's going to be taking everything he wants here. This Viktor is still full life. Has Zhonya, he can just waltz into the fight, and that is the entire enemy team going down to Viktor. Beautifully done here by the red team. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been a pretty cool cast, hasn't it? Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.